The movie opens in Alexia, once a tranquil kingdom safeguarded by the legendary dragon riders. However, peace was shattered when a power-hungry ruler, Galbatorix, decided to claim the throne by eliminating all those who stood in his way. Only a few rebels managed to survive, forming a secret group known as the Varden, whose whereabouts remain unknown. Now, the kingdom is ruled by fear, with King Galbatorix and his ruthless sorcerer, Durza, at the helm. Yet, not everyone submits to their rule. One such person is Princess Arya, who has stolen something valuable from the king and is now on the run, knowing Durza will be sent after her. As expected, Durza sets the forest ablaze in pursuit of her. However, Arya proves she's no helpless victim. Holding up the stolen stone, she mutters an incantation, causing the stone to glow brightly before vanishing. Durza is furious to see it disappear. Meanwhile, a poor farm boy named Eragon is out hunting when he stumbles upon a mysterious blue stone, left behind after a sudden explosion. He picks it up and heads back home.
And I'll let you live.
Trust's the word of shade.
Back in the village, the royal guard is recruiting soldiers, with every village required to contribute. A man pleads with the officers, begging them not to take his sons, knowing that those conscripted will never return. One soldier dismissively tells the man to be proud that his son will be a hero. Eragon tries to trade the stone he found for a cut of meat, but the butcher, terrified, insists the stone must belong to the king and orders Eragon to leave. Outside, Eragon watches as guards harass a man named Brom. Brom pulls a knife in protest but hesitates, eventually allowing the guards to take his poultry. Eragon, amused, is impressed that someone is willing to stand up to the guards. When Eragon returns home empty-handed, his cousin Roran teases him, and they engage in some playful mock combat. Later, Eragon takes the mysterious stone from his satchel to examine it but learns little. As they work together in the fields, Roran announces that he plans to leave the farm. He wants to escape before the soldiers come for him, as he is old enough to be conscripted and he refuses to serve in the king's army. That night, Eragon talks to his uncle Garrow about Roran's decision. Garrow explains that Eragon will soon have to make a choice of his own, as he too will soon be old enough. Eragon reveals that he's content on the farm and has no greater ambitions. He then asks Garrow about his mother, Garrow's sister, who left when Eragon was very young, and Garrow reveals she left hastily. The next morning, Roran says his goodbyes and leaves. Eragon is left feeling lonely and isolated on the farm. But soon, the strange stone begins to hatch. It turns out to be an egg, and a small blue creature emerges. Eragon wonders if it's a bird, although it's unclear if he's ever actually seen one. When he touches the creature's head, a surge of energy bursts from it, sending a flash of light that can be felt by Brom, Galbatorix, and Arya. Durza, however, is still unaware, as he continues to interrogate Arya about the stone. Arya declares that it's too late, the baby dragon has hatched and is now among them. A spiral mark appears on Eragon's palm, a sign of the dragon's bond. Struggling with his lack of experience, he attempts to feed the baby dragon by pouring milk into a filthy bag, only to realize it's not interested in such meals. Instead, it hunts rats.
An egg? Look at you.
Meanwhile, at the castle, Durza reports the news to King Galbatorix, downplaying the failure of the dragon hatching for an unimportant farm boy. The king remains unfazed, stating that the identity of the dragon's rider is irrelevant. What matters is that the dragon represents an ancient prophecy, and such things fuel resistance movements. Durza insists there's nothing to fear anymore, but Galbatorix warns him of lingering threats: dwarves, elves, and the Varden, all waiting for their opportunity to strike. He concludes the meeting, ordering Durza to eliminate Eragon. That evening, Eragon overhears Horst, a villager, lamenting about his missing sons who were taken by the king's soldiers. Some locals try to silence him, afraid of the ever-watchful guards, but Brum steps in, reminiscing about the days when dragons and riders were a mighty force. All of that ended with Galbatorix's rise to power. Just as expected, one of the guards arrives to hush Brum, and Eragon, eager to know more, hears only that the Dragon Age will return. Soon, Eragon realizes that the puppy he's been caring for isn't an ordinary creature. The dragon grows rapidly, and despite his attempts to teach her to fly, despite not knowing how himself, she doesn't need his help. When he fears she's lost, he feels a sharp pain on his palm. Lightning in the sky accelerates the dragon's growth, and Saphira, now fully grown and capable of telepathic communication, returns to him.
Well, first,
Eragon, eager to understand more, confronts Brum about dragons and their riders. Brum dismisses him, telling him that such matters are beyond a farm boy's understanding. Eragon retorts, calling him a coward, and before leaving, declares that he knows the truth about dragons. Brum's curiosity is piqued, and he checks on a hidden sword. Outside, Eragon senses something is wrong in the village. He hears his name being spoken by a sinister visitor at the butcher shop. The butcher is revealing information about Eragon and the stone to a menacing guest, including the location of Garrow's farm. Panicked, Eragon rushes to warn his uncle, but Saphira intervenes first, telling him it's too late to save his family. As he protests, she drops him, saying he's only making things worse. By the time Eragon reaches home, it's clear that Saphira's warning was right. His uncle has already been killed. Enraged, he blames Saphira, but she reminds him that he would have perished too if she hadn't stepped in. Overcome with grief, Eragon dismisses her. But he isn't alone for long. Brum arrives, inspecting Eragon's palm and asking where the dragon is. Eragon insists on burying his uncle first, but Brum, indifferent, sets the house on fire. He then forces Eragon onto a horse and leads him away. After riding for what feels like an eternity, Eragon and Brum stop in the woods. Brum insists that Eragon call Saphira, but the boy still blames the dragon for everything that's gone wrong. Frustrated with Eragon's attitude, Brum explains that Saphira was only protecting him from Durza and the assassins sent after them. He also tells Eragon about the Varden, a group of rebels hiding in the Beer Mountains. Finally, Eragon relents, calling Saphira and apologizing for his earlier outburst. Before Brum can introduce himself as a dragon expert, Saphira cuts in, stating that she'll judge that for herself. However, as Brum evaluates her, it's clear he has deep admiration for the dragon.
Who are the Varden?
Outcasts, men who are brave, or because the king won't rest until he does.
How do you know all this?
They've got a stronghold.
She's far away by now.
Saphira?
I never left you.
I'm sorry for what I said.
You loved him very much.
With their bond growing stronger, Brum begins to explain to Eragon the weight of his new responsibility. He tells him that a dragon egg only hatches in the presence of its true rider, and once bonded, their lives are intertwined. While the rider may live on after the dragon's death, the reverse is not true. The dragon cannot survive without its rider. Eragon's life is in constant danger because the king knows this connection, and since the king wants to eliminate Saphira, he'll likely send someone suited to dealing with farm boys, not fire-breathing dragons. Meanwhile, in the castle, Durza is informed that a Razak has failed to kill Eragon. He quickly selects another to complete the mission. Brum, clearly familiar with Durza's tactics, expects this move. He instructs Eragon to have Saphira watch for Urgles and Razak while they try to travel through the mountains undetected, reminding him that she should only come to them at night. They continue on their journey, riding toward the Darret River. As they approach, they encounter a group of Urgles, former rebels now serving as the king's soldiers. Rather than avoiding them, Eragon decides to fight. He proudly mentions that he trained with his cousin Roran and is now ready for battle. Brom, however, takes the opportunity to teach him a lesson in humility, warning him that he won't be fighting children. As night falls and Saphira joins them, Brom starts a fire. Eragon hears him muttering something before the first skirmish begins, but Brom remains silent about it. The following day, they arrive in the village of Darrett, where a hooded young man appears to be spying on them. Brom warns Eragon not to speak to anyone, but of course, Eragon finds his way into a tent where he meets Angela, a mysterious woman who offers to read his fortune using dragon bones. After leaving the tent, Eragon encounters Urgles waiting for him. While Brom fights valiantly, it's Eragon who saves the day by using a fire spell, casting the ancient language of the elves. He shoots an arrow infused with wildfire, destroying the Urgles but collapsing afterward, trapped in a long, haunting nightmare involving a mysterious figure named Arya.
I have to do everything myself.
She told me my future.
When he wakes up the next morning, his hand is burning. Brom explains what happened. Eragon accidentally used the ancient language to cast a fire spell. He cautions him about the dangers and limitations of magic but expresses pride in Eragon's abilities. Brom also has a surprise. Saphira now has a saddle. This time, Eragon rides her with more success, though Brom is still stuck on the ground, shouting instructions. After some wild flying maneuvers, Eragon attempts a spell that allows him to perceive as one with Saphira. Through this connection, he spots a group of Razak preparing to ambush Brom. He swoops down to save him, and they manage to defeat the enemies, but Saphira is injured in the process. Brom, furious and worried, scolds Eragon. In the heat of the moment, Eragon grabs Brom's hand and learns a painful truth: Brom was once a rider, too. His dragon died protecting him from Morzin, a former dragon rider who betrayed his kin to serve Galbatorix. Afterward, Brom hunted down Morzin and ensured he paid for his treachery, even taking his sword. Morzin's dragon was the last one to die before the royal dragon, leaving Brom to live with the guilt of losing his dragon and his rider's bond. Durza, growing increasingly frustrated with his incompetent underlings, decides to change his approach. He decides to work smarter, not harder, and infiltrates Eragon's dreams. Taking the guise of Arya, the princess of Elesmera, Durza convinces Eragon that Arya is imprisoned in Gilead and only he can rescue her. His plan succeeds, and Eragon, now convinced, refuses to listen to Brom or even Saphira. Driven by the need to save Arya, Eragon sets out on a path contrary to the Varden's direction. He flies to Gilead, waits for nightfall, and sneaks into the castle. Using the dragon's sight spell, Eragon easily peers through the walls and quickly finds Arya. But when the real Arya sees him, she orders him to leave immediately. He shouldn't have come. Eragon is puzzled, but before he can process what's happening, Durza reveals himself from the shadows, mocking Eragon's naivety. A short magical duel ensues, but Eragon realizes he is outmatched. Just as things look dire, Brom intervenes, taking an arrow meant for Eragon. Durza seemingly vanishes when hit, but the malicious grin on his face suggests this is not the end for him.
It's far too late for that. Forgive me if I stare. Hear the dying screams of his dragon. No! Much better than that.
Eragon and Arya carry Brom through the castle, trying to evade the guards. Just as they are overwhelmed, Saphira swoops in to help. They're not alone, though. The hooded boy from Darrett appears on the rooftops, firing arrows at the guards, aiding their escape. Saphira takes them as far as she can, but eventually, Eragon realizes Brom is beyond saving. He attempts to heal Brom with magic, but it's too late. Saphira gives Brum a dragon rider's funeral, and they all say their final goodbyes. With Brum gone, it seems Arya is now Eragon's ally, but as they prepare for their journey, she suddenly falls ill, poisoned by Durza. The sorcerer's influence is still strong, and the only hope left is the Varden. Arya, with great effort, places her hand on Eragon's face, guiding him mentally to their location. Back in the physical world, Saphira drops what seems to be a pile of black cloth, but it turns out to be the hooded boy from Derrit. His name is Murtaugh. He reveals that King Galbatorix made him an orphan and that he's been waiting for the return of the Dragon Rider. Although Eragon and Saphira are wary of Murtaugh, he claims to know the way through the mountains and offers to help them reach the Varden. As they continue their journey, with Arya and Saphira's care, they encounter hostile terrain, and Saphira warns them that Urgles are closing in. Eventually, the two boys arrive at a waterfall, where they swim to a hidden cave, greeted by armed Varden soldiers. Meanwhile, back at Gilead, Durza faces the king's wrath for the failure of his mission. However, the king has good news. Eragon's actions have led them directly to the secret location of the Varden. Durza's final opportunity to impress the king is to wipe out the resistance, and he is ordered to bring the entire army to annihilate them, leaving no survivors. Inside the cave, Eragon and Murtaugh meet Ajihad, the leader of the Varden. To prove his identity, Eragon calls Saphira inside, and the Varden are amazed to see the dragon. Ajihad assures them that the Varden's healers will tend to Arya, but he's less than welcoming toward Murtaugh. As the son of Morzin, the infamous traitor, Murtaugh is not trusted, despite his insistence that he is nothing like his father. In light of the Varden's circumstances, Ajihad decides not to take any chances, and Murtaugh is kept under suspicion. Durza stands outside the Varden stronghold, surrounded by a large group of Urgles, clad in his menacing armor. Inside, Eragon looks at his reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing the person staring back. Arya, now fully recovered, stands nearby, and even Saphira has her own battle attire, ready for the fight. As the Urgles begin their invasion, Eragon takes a moment to have a philosophical conversation with Saphira. He asks why she chose him as her rider. With wisdom, she replies that it was because of his heart. At that moment, she breathes fire for the first time, signaling the start of their battle. The Varden are vastly outnumbered, but the situation quickly shifts as the conflict turns into a battle of magic when Durza arrives, riding an incredibly grotesque dragon. Murtaugh breaks free from his previous constraints and joins the fight, though he doesn't seem to make much of a difference. The battle rages on, and the ugly dragon nearly bites off Saphira's head, but Eragon manages to save her. Though she's wounded and weakened, Saphira still manages to carry Eragon toward Durza. Eragon, wielding Brom's sword, aims for the heart this time, and with a final, powerful strike, Durza is defeated. His dragon falls with him, bringing an end to the threat. Exhausted but victorious, Eragon finds that he's finally tapped into the full potential of his magic. Despite his drained energy, Eragon manages to heal Saphira, with his loyal friend Murtaugh by his side, his name now cleared. As the Varden celebrate their victory, Eragon and Saphira take to the skies, flying away into the horizon, leaving behind the battlefield and the hope of a brighter future. And this is the end. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.